Of course, the other thing that's ongoing at the moment that I have to ask about is the lawsuit with Lahey. Now, that is against the Lahey Clinic, and you were named in it.
No, I was not. I'm not a party.
No, I know. I said you were named in it, but you're not a party. Sorry, I should have made that very plain.
Right.
Yes, it references you.
Yes,
but that's why
Mr. Monis made sure that a public relations firm was hired to reveal certain information about me, including emails and bank accounts.
Well, that was all in the lawsuit.
And so, yes, and we'll see how that goes.
Are you able to comment much on it?
No, other than to say that I think a mistake was made.
Clearly.
I think that to consider a 20-year-old carefully drafted agreement, a contract with the Lahey Clinic, to call it a bribe is both an insult and a mistake. And I'm hoping, because I'm a Bermudian, I'm hoping that Bermuda will be able to get out of this essentially unscathed.
Well, that's my next question, because doing the research on this yesterday, I can find a story dating May the 24th, when I think you and a group of other signatories approached Massachusetts District Court to try and get this whole thing rejected. And after that, there's been no news. So can you tell me where it's at? Because I can't find out.
No, I don't know. All I know is that they're waiting for, I think, a hearing date sometime in the near future.
Is this the so-called Amici Curicae?
No, that was what we did.
Yeah, what happened with that?
Well, that was just, there was no decision with that. That's a document that you send to the court to indicate that in fact it was not a secret in Bermuda that I had a relationship with the Lahey Clinic. I mean, it was on the sign out at the street. So everyone in Bermuda who wanted to know knew that I had a connection with the Lahey Clinic. What bothered Mr. Monis was that he said that the relationship that I had with Lahey financially was wildly successful. I still don't know what that means. I think it means too much money for a black man.
Too much money, full stop, perhaps. But as far as you're aware, the case is still ongoing. It hasn't been dropped.
No, as far as I know, it hasn't been dropped. I'm hoping that eventually it will be, for Bermuda's sake, because I would hate to see the Bermuda government on the wrong end of a defamation suit.
I was going to come on to that, but first of all, just so one of the rules of journalism I follow is to make sure you never assume. So I just want to just pick out some of the points of the writ for the benefit of the viewers and get your reaction to it. And as you mentioned, it says over the course of nearly 2 decades, Lahey conspired with you to design and perpetuate an unlawful enterprise fueled by Lahey's payment of bribes to Brown, disguised as consulting fees. It then goes on that says, you ensured that Lahey became the overseas health provider of choice for Bermudians and directed lucrative healthcare contracts towards them, and that you, together with Lahey, concocted a scheme upon bribery and greed. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, it's about 70 pages, which I'm not going to go into detail, but I want to hear your reaction to that. I've seen it in print, and stuff, but I want to talk to you. And
well, whenever I said it in print is probably what I would say again. Most of those allegations are untrue.
Most of them?
Most of them, in the sense that I did have a relationship with Lahey. Right, okay. One of my jobs as a consultant was to promote Lahey, but there were no government contracts. He refers to government contracts, and nobody in Bermuda can find a government contract for health care. There is none. So part of that is like saying that a couple that have been married for 20 years conspired to stay together.
You obviously think it's spurious and unfounded. And you mentioned a couple of minutes ago you didn't want to see the Bermuda government landed with a defamation suit. There are very serious consequences for this if the Bermuda government loses, aren't there? And it kind of makes you think that those would have been taken into consideration first.
Well, I don't know. You'd have to talk to the people directly
it's a heck
involved.
Of a gamble to
it's
take.
A very large gamble. It is very, very, very unpopular in Massachusetts, because Lahey is popular in Massachusetts. I don't know how Lahey will react. I don't know. I know that they they consider their reputation to be important, and time will tell.
Because one of the things about that, one of the accusations, I believe, was they were breaking US federal rules. I'm never quite sure the
Yes.
system over there, about allegedly paying $10,000 towards a PLP banquet.
All ridiculous. If any of those things had weight, the Department of Justice would have agreed to take the case.
And it hasn't.
No.
Do you think with hindsight that it would have been better for you if you hadn't, while you were Premier and Tourism Minister, if you hadn't been so hands-on with the Brown Darrell Clinic and BHCS?
Well, I really wasn't. I saw my last patient in 2006.
But what I mean is, sorry, you were still running the business.
No, my wife was running the business. And so no politician in Bermuda has been asked. Sir Henry Tucker was the president of the Bank of Bermuda and the leader of the UBP. Nobody ever questioned it. So I figured we were using the same standards.
I guess nobody questioned it, but it has come out as a question now because of this lawsuit.
Well, that's fine. They can ask the question. No, I don't regret it. My relationship with the Lahey Clinic goes back to 1996, and I saw no reason to change it, to halt it. We changed some of the paperwork when I became Premier, and there was no activity. In fact, I could probably get witnesses from Hopkins and the other hospitals that would indicate that I went out of my way to make sure that they were treated fairly in Bermuda.
So while you were Premier, your wife was hands-on with the business and dealing with Lahey?
That is correct.
So you didn't have any dealings with them?
Very little. Very little.
One part jumped out at me a little bit because I think it kind of perhaps references the Brown Darrell Clinic issue. And it mentions on page 25 that the Brown Clinics have their own separate fee schedule. And it went on to say that in 2015-2016, the fee for each MRI scans at BHCS was $1,301. CTC scans at BDC range from $760 up to $2,862.
Right.
Did you have your own fee schedule?
No, those prices were set by those are the standard health benefit numbers.
So how on earth could they come across and allege that they have...
That I had our own schedule. No.
Because that, to me, when I read that, it jumped back to
That
the
is
issue with the Brown Darrell Clinic.
You know what? There are a lot of words I could use to describe that.
We are live, so
but I would just say that it's untrue. We never had a separate schedule. That 1301 was what the government agreed that the insurance company should pay, and they paid that for 10 years, and that paid the hospital 20% more. When it came to CT scans, both the hospital and Brown Darrell were paid the similar amounts. And you don't set, you can set your own fee schedule if you wish, but we did not. So we set it so we observed the standard health benefit so that patients wouldn't have to pay any extra.
At the end of the day, doesn't a government have a duty to take this kind of action if it thinks that the public purse has been abused?
Take what kind of action?
This lawsuit.
This lawsuit?
This kind of action being this kind of lawsuit, whether it's this one, whether it's the allegations against Port Royal, which are obviously have been unlisted now, but anything else that happens, don't they have a duty to pursue it?
They have a duty to pursue it. They have a duty to pursue it, and we have a duty to tell our side of the story.
Absolutely, which is one of the reasons. Very grateful for your time.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Would you have done it? Well, if you'd seen these allegations, do you think you would have pursued it as such?
These allegations are frivolous. Most of them are frivolous. They use the existence of a real relationship to describe something devilish and criminal. And, I don't know why they think that they can get away with it, but I don't think that they will in the long run, because my relationship with the Lahey Clinic was very clear, in writing, upstanding, and everybody in the medical community knew about it. There was nothing secretive. He has made the point that I made more money as a consultant to Lahey than I did as Premier. Well, I would think that that's good for Bermuda.
There's an awful lot of people paid more than premiers and prime ministers.
Thank you.
I dug out a quote from April last year, and I think you were on the radio, and you said they are going to fight. They are going to fight like my wife and I are going to fight to the last cent and the last breath. Does that still apply?
Yes.
To your dying day?
Yes.
You will do it?
Yes.
Why?
There's no question. Because I don't want to leave the Bermuda that I found. And I don't think it's fair to young doctors coming along that they should experience the same thing, that they should be treated fairly, that if there's a review of fees, that it just be a review of fees, not a Bermuda-style review of fees where you leave some people alone and pick on other people. Just a review of fees. Use experts from Russia, Germany, Denmark, doesn't matter, United States, but be fair about it. I don't have a problem. I have recommended in the past that there could be a $70 million savings in healthcare if everyone's fees were cut back 10%. Everyone. So if I was against it, I wouldn't be in favor of that.
If Lahey wins, or if the government decides to withdraw the lawsuit, clearly stated that you are not involved directly in the lawsuit, but would you consider a writ for defamation against the government?
Me, personally, I don't think so. I'd leave that up to the lawyers and seek advice from the lawyers. But you know, if
if it's dropped, it's been very damaging to your reputation.
Yes, but you see, I lived with a damaged reputation. As long as I'm in Bermuda, my reputation is under attack all the time, and I don't think I have enough time left on the planet to correct it. It'll be corrected years after I leave. People will find out the truth. But more important, if the Bermuda government drops the suit, that does not prevent or preclude Lahey from taking steps later.
The countersuit, yeah.
That's right.